I'm here live, you cannot deny, at the wonderful Yahshua's temple. I haven't been here ever since I was a child, but still, to see this place still standing and demanding, it makes me smile for a little while. I love this style. Because for the supreme Elohim, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yeshua's knowledge, if you take advantage of it, you won't have to go to college. It's that indescribable feeling, that indescribable healing, that brings me nothing but chilling. It's the way
and we're going to bring you a lesson entitled The Dead Sea Scrolls and Lost Books. Let's go to Hosea, the 4th chapter. The Dead Sea Scrolls and Lost Books. Hosea 4. And we want to read verse 1.
Hosea chapter 4 and verse 1. Hear the word of Yahweh, ye children of Israel. For Yahweh hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Elohim in the land.
So Yahweh has got a controversy, or he's got a bone to pick. It says, Hear Hadabar, or the word of Yahweh, ye band of children of Yisrael. For Yahweh has a controversy, a disagreement, a bone to pick with the inhabitants of the land, talking about the people on the earth. And he especially mentioned his people, Yisrael, because there is no image, no truth, no hasid, no mercy, no yada, no knowledge of Elohim in the land. Why not? Children of Israel were supposed to stand up and spread the word about Yahweh. What happened instead was different man-made theories are circulating about how to study the scriptures and what Yahweh said and what Yahweh didn't say. Let's go to Philippians, the 2nd chapter. There are man-made theories circulating about what the scriptures are and what they say, what Yahweh said, what we're supposed to do. And a theory, going to Philippians 2, is a supposition based upon ignorance of the subject under discussion. Like the Big Bang theory. Now they got a multiple universe theory, which is the same, again, based upon ignorance of the subject under discussion. So what they do is they make up things. Philippians, the 2nd chapter, and let's start at verse 14.
Philippians chapter 2 and verse 14. Do all things without murmurings and disputings.
15.
Verse 15. That ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of Elohim without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world.
So, our part is to be blameless and harmless, Haban, or the sons of Elohim, without rebuke. Yahweh doesn't have a bone to pick with us, but we're in the midst of a crooked and perverse go-weird nation, among whom we're supposed to be shining as lights in the world. In this perverse world, our spiritual senses are always being challenged to discern good and evil. Man-made theories are the main cause of us constantly exercising our spiritual senses to discern good and evil. Go to Hebrews, the 5th chapter. Hebrews, the 5th chapter. Read one verse, verse 14.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 14. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
All right, but coag meat, or in other words, getting in this word and finding out what Yahweh actually said and being able to navigate through these man-made theories, it belongs to them that are of full age. Doesn't mean you have been in this thing a long time. It means what you've been doing since you've been in the word. You've been studying and you've been letting Yahweh's Ruach HaKodesh tell you what's right, what's wrong, what Yahweh means, what Yahweh said. It said it belongs to them that are full age, even those who by reason of use, you've been using your spiritual senses to have them exercised to discern both Tov and Ra, good and evil. And in this world, we get that opportunity multiple times a day to discern between what's good and what's evil, what's right and what's wrong, what Yahweh actually said to do and what he said not to do. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter. So Israel separated from Yahweh So it's not just the world, instigates these man-made theories. Again, the title of the lesson is The Dead Sea Scrolls and Lost Books. Deuteronomy 32. And Israel, separated from Yahweh, instigates man-made theories. They join along with the people that make man-made theories. But that's Israel separated from Yahweh. Deuteronomy 32, and let's start at verse 5.
Hallelujah.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 5. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation.
And Yahweh talking about the children of Israel that was separated from him, in other words, not listening to him, said they've corrupted themselves. This is a choice that they made. Their spot is not the spot of his band, his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Verse 6.
Verse 6. Do ye thus requite Yahweh, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he thy father that had bought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee?
So he's asking them a question. Don't you realize who Yahweh is? He said, do you treat Yahweh this way, O foolish, go-ye-o people and unwise? Is not he your Abba, your father that brought you? Hasn't he made you? Hasn't he Iyshshah or met or established you? All right. But for Yahweh, none of us would be here. Verse 7.
Verse 7. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee.
Verse 8.
Verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
So Yahweh's people were always first. He divided to go into the nations their inheritance. When he separated Haban and the sons of Adam, he sets the bounds of his people according to the number of the children of Israel. The children of Israel are always first. So they were supposed to be standing up and letting people know that Yahweh is first. Let's go to Hebrews, the 6th chapter. So these theory makers are not seeking to exercise their spiritual senses like those of us that are following Yahweh are. Hebrews, the 6th chapter. They are not looking to exercise their spiritual senses. Hebrews 6, let's read verses 1 to 3.
Hallelujah.
Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 1. Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrine of Mashiach, let us go on unto perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works and of faith toward Elohim. Verse 2. Of the doctrine of baptisms and of laying on of hands and of resurrection of the dead and of eternal judgment.
So here the scripture says, therefore there are some that are leaving the principles of the doctrine of Mashiach, leaving what Yahweh said in the scriptures, and they say, okay, we're going on to spiritual maturity. That's backwards. How are you going to do that and leave what Yahweh put in the scriptures? You're going to leave the truth. They say, we won't lay again the foundation of repentance from dead works, moved works. You don't have to repent and of now or have faith toward Yahweh or believe in him. You don't have to be baptized. You don't have to lay hands on people. And there's no resurrection of the dead. And there is no eternal judgment. There are people saying you get to, if there's a lake of fire, if you go to the lake of fire, you're just going to burn up and not be tormented forever. There are people that are saying that with these man-made theories. All right, verse 3.
Verse 3. And this will we do if Elohim permits.
So we would be out there being foolish like them if we weren't in here reading what Yahweh said. We would be doing the same thing, going along with these man-made theories. Whatever new thing comes up, people jump and run after that. It says we would be doing the same thing. We would be backwards just like them if Yahweh permitted us to do that. Go to 2 Timothy, the fourth chapter. So the theory makers are not seeking to exercise their spiritual senses. They're just seeking knowledge of any kind. 2 Timothy 4.
Man's knowledge.
Just like the Mars Hill people, they just want to hear something new. Hear a different twist. They don't care if it's Yahweh's or not. 2 Timothy 4. And let's read verses 3 to 4.
Hallelujah.
2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itchy ears. Verse 4. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables.
That's what the Dead Sea Scrolls and lost books are all about. These man-made theories. It says the time will come, and it has come, when they don't want sound doctrine. They don't want what Yahweh said, but after their own lusts. They're seeking just knowledge of any kind. After their own lusts shall they gather to themselves, heap to themselves, Yahweh or teachers, having itching ears, where it scratches them just right. Oh yeah, that sounds good to me. Oh yeah, that's what I'm going to believe. That's what I'm going to make up as my doctrine.
Right.
And they shall turn away. They're doing this themselves, making the choice. Their ears from Ha'emet, from the truth of Yahweh, and shall be turned unto fables, make-believe, fiction. Let's go to 1 John, the 4th chapter. So in ancient Mizraim or Egypt, Israel, separated from Yahweh, placed high esteem on man-made theories. 1 John, the 4th chapter. So it's just come to the full in the latter days. They've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
1 John, the 4th chapter. Let's read one verse, verse 6.
Hallelujah.
1 John chapter 4 and verse 6. We are of Elohim. He that knoweth Elohim heareth us. He that is not of Elohim heareth not us. Hereby know we Haruach of truth and Haruach of error.
Just read it. Okay. So we are of Elohim. He that yada or knoweth Elohim, Shema or heareth us. He that is not of Elohim doesn't hear us. It says hereby yada or know we. We're not guessing. We're not thinking. We know. There's a Ruach of Emet, or a spirit of truth, which is Yahweh, and there's a Ruach or spirit of error, which is Hasatan, involved in these man-made theories.
Right.
Let's go to Titus, the 1st chapter. So in opposition in ancient Mizraim or Egypt, and later in the Promised Land, the Israelite custodians of the scriptures rejected and condemned these man-made theories as error.
Right.
Titus, the 1st chapter. That's why we're standing up doing the same thing.
Right.
Titus, the 1st chapter, and let's start at verse 10.
Hallelujah.
Titus chapter 1 and verse 10. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision.
Whoa! You know who the circumcision is, right?
Right. Israel.
Says, so for there be many, not just a few, many unruly and vain. What they doing? Talking, and deceivers. That is, if you listen to them. Especially out of all the nationalities in the world, especially they of the circumcision, especially Yisrael. All right, verse 11.
Verse 11. Whose mouth must be stopped. Who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake.
He said, whose mouths must be stopped. So how do you stop a lie? You tell the truth of what Yahweh says. They're subverting whole Bayada houses. Yahweh are teaching things which they ought not. And that filthy lucre, some are doing it just to stand up before people. If there's a lot of people in the room, a big temple, then they'll go and they'll just say anything, and they'll just compromise. They don't really let people know what they believe. So that filthy lucre is not just money, it's whatever they want to gain some kind of attention to themselves. All right, but remember now, he said, especially they of Yisrael. Verse 12.
Verse 12. One of themselves, even a prophet of their own, said, the Cretans are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies,
13.
Verse 13. This witness is true, whereof rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith.
Yeah.
14.
Verse 14. Not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth.
Now you notice how the scripture says Jewish
I know, right?
fables. But he's talking about the real Yisrael that's giving these Jewish fables. As a matter of fact, when you do the research, you find out that the Pharisees and the scribes, their doctrines evolved into Jewishness.
Yeah.
It evolved into Esau's Talmud. It evolved into the other laws that they made up. They took them straight from the Pharisees, that were part of our nation.
Yeah, yeah.
All right? He said, don't give heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from Yahweh's truth.
Right, right.
Go to 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. So turning from the scriptures or the truth leads to error.
Yes, it does.
Error is a wandering. It's a straying. It's being led away from the right way. 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. So when you're in error, you're being led away from the right way. 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. And we want to start at verse 16.
Hallelujah.
2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 16. As also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction.
All right, so there are people that are struggling and wrestling with the scriptures. Why? Because they don't want to let Yahweh tell them what the scriptures say.
That's it.
They want to twist them and they want to make them say what they want them to say. It says, as also in all his epistles, all these verses that people wrote, speaking in them of certain things in which some things are hard to be understood without Yahweh telling you what they mean. You won't understand.
That's it.
Which they that are unlearned and unstable wrestle, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction. Yahweh is not keeping it from anybody.
No, he's not.
But he said, submit to me.
That's it, my surrender.
Then you resist Hasatan. Then I'll open it up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. First, we have to humble down and submit to Yahweh. Put him in his proper place and his son in his proper place. Then he said, I'm going to open the way and then I will reveal to you my knowledge. All right? So, let's read 17.
Verse 17. Ye therefore, beloved, seeing ye know these things before, beware lest ye also, being led away with the error of the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness.
So Yahweh tells us to watch out who we keep company with, because now he says, now I'm telling you, my children, you therefore beloved, seeing you Yada, you know these things before, so if you didn't know them, he's telling you now. Don't just be hanging out with a bunch of people and they all have all these different theories and they're going to dupe you into thinking that you're talking about the Bible or getting somewhere in real spiritual understanding and knowledge. He said, you know these things before. Beware, lest you also be led away with the error of the Rasha or the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness. All it takes is you hanging around long enough and listening to that stuff long enough. I tell the testimony of the sister who believed in the Son of Yahweh. And for 10 years, she let this person talk to her and tell her there was no Son of Yahweh.
I know, right?
And then when I met her, she said, you know what? For 10 years, I was believing that, and I'm not going back the other way.
Praise.
I'm praying for her. That's awful. She's stuck on the wrong way.
Yeah.
But why would you let somebody talk to you 10 years about something that you know is the truth?
Okay.
And then you end up, now you're going to miss the lake of fire because you're going to say, well, I'm not going to change back.
Wow.
She messed up where she should have read this verse and paid attention to it. Beware lest ye also, led away with the error of the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness. Just like a woodpecker, somebody think if they peck at you long enough,
Yep.
peck, peck, peck,
Yep.
then they're going to put a dent in you. Don't let them do that.
Allow
That's not being impolite.
them. No, it's
That's
not.
using wisdom.
That's right.
Go to 1 John, the 4th chapter. So error is roaming hither and thither mentally. Letting your mind just wander here and there.
I know, right?
Putting all that junk in your mind.
Huh.
Error is holding wrong opinions relative to morals and what Yahweh said in the scriptures.
I
1
know,
John,
right?
the 4th chapter. That's what error is. 1 John 4. Let's read one verse. Verse 1.
Hallelujah.
1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets are gone out into the world.
Not just a few.
Huh.
And he's talking to his people again.
Right,
He
right.
calls them beloved. Don't believe every ruach. Don't believe everybody standing up talking about I'm a Hebrew or
I
I'm
know,
this or
right?
I'm that. But try the ruachs. How do you try them? You just watch them.
All right.
You just see what they're saying.
Yep.
You just see what they're doing.
Right.
Because it's a lot easier to stand up and run your mouth than it is to actually do something
Yeah.
that's helping somebody,
Right.
that's pointing people to Yahweh,
Yes.
that's causing them to repent, be baptized, and start to study the scriptures and put Yahweh first in their life and make Yahshua their master.
Yeah.
Says, try
Try
the
it.
spirits, whether they are of Elohim.
Uh-huh.
If they're not doing what Yahweh said, they're not of Elohim.
That's it. Tell like it is,
Said
brother.
because many, not a few, many false Nabi are going out into the world. What are they
Yes.
out there for? To make up some stuff, this man-made stuff, to try to get you to follow them, to get you off track, to get you thinking that there's another way to the kingdom besides the way Yahweh put in here. There's only one way to
That's
the kingdom.
it. Through Yahshua.
And Yahweh is the one that tells us what it is. Let's go to Jude. Jude, first chapter. So error shows itself in
Yep.
wrong ways of acting
Uh-huh.
and talking.
Yep.
And error leads to deceit and it leads to fraud.
Huh.
Jude 1, let's read verses 10 and 11.
Hallelujah.
Jude chapter 1 and verse 10. But these speak evil of those things which they know not,
Huh.
but what they know naturally, as brute beasts, in those things they corrupt themselves.
So it's not a spiritual understanding that they got. Some of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Lost Book, they speak raw of those things which they yada not. The truth of what Yahweh said in the scripture. They'll knock that, but says what they yada know naturally as brute or stupid beasts. In those things they corrupt themselves. They're all into that and all embracing that and running
Right.
after that, but throwing away the truth of Yahweh. Verse 11.
Verse 11. Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain,
Huh.
and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of
Huh.
Korah. He said, woe unto them, because why? They headed for the lake of fire. Let's go to 1 Timothy, the 6th chapter. 1 Timothy, the 6th chapter. So the man-made theory makers say that the information in the scriptures is insufficient.
Right.
They say it's incorrect,
Yup.
and they even say it's unenlightening.
I know, right?
These are the man-made theory makers. Why? Because they want you to get all involved with these books that they made up.
Right.
1 Corinthians, the 6th chapter. 1 Timothy, I'm sorry. 1 Timothy, the 6th chapter. So but what Yahweh wants you to know is the truth.
Right.
And He wants you to know all about these books, so you won't even get involved in fiction. See, fiction is made up stuff.
Right.
That's what this is all about, fiction.
Yeah.
All right? Yahweh is about non-fiction or reality or the
Right.
truth.
Facts.
All right? 1 Timothy 6, let's start reading at verse 20.
Hallelujah.
1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings, and oppositions of science falsely so called.
He said, Shema, or keep that which committed to thy batak or trust.
Yep.
What's been committed to our trust?
Yahweh
The oracles of Yahweh,
Yahweh
the words of Yahweh. Said, avoid profane and vain babblings.
I know,
It's
right?
man-made stuff. It's just babbling. It's meaningless. It's nothing. And oppositions of science, which are falsely so called.
I
In
know,
other words,
right?
trying to come up with another reason why we exist,
I
why
know,
the
right?
earth exists, and they call it science, and Yahweh says it's false, it's a lie.
Right.
All right? But he cautions us, avoid that. Verse 21.
Verse 21, which some professing have erred concerning the faith. Grace be with thee. Amen.
He said, with some, speaking that dumb stuff,
I know,
have
right?
erred. They're in error. They're roaming hither and thither, letting their mind just go to and fro. And really, they're losing their mind.
That's it.
Concerning ha'emunah, the real faith, the real doctrines of Yahweh.
Yep.
So he said, Hain, or Yahweh's righteousness, Yahweh's steadfastness be with you. Amen. So
Yes.
be it. Let it be so. All right, go to Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. So Yahweh commanded that we study the scriptures to
Right,
show
right.
ourselves approved unto
Yes,
him.
it is.
But we got to understand what the scriptures are, because man will stand up and tell you you're studying the scriptures and you're studying a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of baloney and salami.
Yep.
Ecclesiastes 12, and let's read one verse, 12 and 12.
Hallelujah.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 12. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh.
Here is Yahweh saying further, by these, my bond, my sons, my daughters, be admonished, be warned, of making many books there is no end.
I know, right?
Many books.
That's all right.
People are coming out with a different version of the Bible every year. They're coming out with this book or that book, how to do this, how to do that. It says, the making of many books, there's no end.
No.
And he said, much study is a weariness of the flesh.
Of the
Why?
flesh.
When you're studying the wrong thing.
Right?
That'll talk about burnout. That'll burn you out studying all this nonsense.
I know, right?
And people tell, oh, you have to read this, or you
I
have to
know,
do
right?
that, or you have to go over to England and find this Bible that's buried over there in England, or you have to go find this that's buried up under the Pope's butt. That's the best Bible that there is out there. Yahweh's telling you much study is a weariness of the flesh.
Right.
Especially when you don't know how to investigate what real scripture is.
Right?
You'll be wasting your time trying to study. Go to John, the 21st chapter, John or Yachanan, the 21st chapter. John 21. So Yahweh's warning you,
Yep.
just studying just to be studying. You can have a whole room full of
Edifying
books.
yourself.
Room full of books and they all garbage.
I know, right?
John 21 and verse 25.
Hallelujah.
John chapter 21 and verse 25. And there are also many other things which Yahshua did, the which, if they should be written, everyone, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written. Amen.
Amen.
That's it.
All right. So Yahweh put in here exactly what he wanted to put in here.
Right?
More than we needed
That's
to
right.
make it to the kingdom. More than we needed to let people know about him and Yahshua.
Right?
And how to get to the kingdom and escape the lake of fire.
How to
He
live.
said, all right, not only Ecclesiastes must study is a weariness of the flesh,
Right?
but there's also many other things that Yahshua did when he was here. He said, if every one of them should be written, he said, I'm thinking even the world itself couldn't contain all the books that should be written. So Yahweh decided what should be written. And it's not up to men to make up stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, people talking about, yes, so what did Yahshua do between the ages of 12 and 30? Well, obviously, Yahweh, that's irrelevant to what we need to know. That's just another one of those dumb trips, rabbit trails, the fictitious things that people in their own mind mentally stray, mentally roaming back and forth. All right, let's go to 1 Timothy, the 3rd chapter.
Right.
So upon introduction to the man-made theory makers' books, some ignorantly evaluate them as carrying the same weight as the original scriptures.
I know, right?
We are not to put ourselves in that position.
I know, right?
1 Timothy, the 3rd chapter. Yahweh says throughout the Bible, do not be ignorant. Now, if we're still ignorant, then that's the choice that we made.
That's on us.
He's telling us, don't be ignorant. That means that's a commandment. 1 Timothy 3, let's read verse 6, please.
Hallelujah.
1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 6. Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride he fall into the condemnation of the devil.
So now a novice is someone that doesn't really know anything, and then they get prideful or embarrassed about not knowing it. Instead of just realizing, hey, I've only been in this thing for 2 years.
Right.
You don't have to go into a contest with somebody and be ashamed or embarrassed because you don't know a certain scripture. And is not to let somebody put you in that situation. And you need to learn the words, I don't know. Let me go find out. And then maybe I'll come back and talk to you about it. Because if they're trying to put you in a position where they're trying to shame you about what you don't know from the scriptures, then that is something satanic to do.
That's it.
Yahweh doesn't teach us by shaming or trying to embarrass us. No. He teaches us, and he understands if you've been in this thing longer than somebody else, then you give them a chance to study. You give them a chance to understand. So we won't act like a novice.
Right.
A novice acts fleshly, thinking that they should know something. Matter of fact, you'll have people tell you, well, how long you been in this? You've been in this for 5 years. Well, you should know that.
Right.
Then you should be able to tell them respectfully, ma'am, sir, maybe I should, but I don't, and I'm going to go find it out.
Right.
But not because you're telling me what I should know.
I know.
Yahweh's the one that tells you what you should and should not know. Don't let anybody critique you or evaluate you.
I know, right?
And try to put that shame. That's a manipulator that's talking to you. They're trying to manipulate you. So again, don't be a novice. Don't be manipulated by what people telling you, judging on how long you've been in this thing, what you should or should not know, or what you should or should not be doing. All right? Because then you'll be lifted up with pride. See, when you're ashamed of something, that's pride.
Yep.
When you're embarrassed, that's pride.
Yep.
You're thinking about how you look.
Right.
All right? Or how bad, somebody might talk about you or think you did something. That's pride.
Yes, it is. Y'all right,
That's like the devil.
So the world can know.
That's right. All right, let's go to Galatians, the 3rd chapter. So the books coming from man's theories were part of the first Roman Catholic supported King James Version of the Bible. Modern Desk Edition, Webster's New World Dictionary of the American Language, page 16 says, the Council of Trent's decision was that the 14 apocryphal proper books were a part of the original Hebrew scriptures and should be regarded as true in every respect. It decreed in 1546 that, quote, all of the Latin versions now in circulation, this particular ancient well-known version approved by so many centuries of use in the church should be considered authentic for public use and no one should venture to repudiate it, unquote. The man-made books were taken out of the second King James Version in 1629. What for? to get it back in line with the original Hebrew scriptures.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
This is what people will tell you. Well, it was in the first King
I
James.
know, right?
Do the research. Find out
Right.
who put it in there. Why was it taken out? In 1825, the British and Foreign Bible Society agreed that the Apocrypha should not be in the King James
Praise
Bible.
Yahweh.
And from that time on, the writings have been eliminated from all English Bibles except the Roman Catholic and pulpit Bibles. I got a Roman Catholic Bible right back here,
Yeah.
and it's in here.
Nice.
Holy Bible, Catholic version. And then when I look at the table of contents, they have Abdias, they have Aggeus, they have Apocalypse, they have Baruch, they have Sirach. So these are the Apocryphal book. They got the Maccabees, 1st and 2nd. All right, so I just wanted to let you know
Right,
we have
right.
this is for research purposes.
Right.
We don't study from this Bible,
Hallelujah.
but we studied it to find out exactly what was in this Bible, so we
Praise
could
the mighty
understand
God.
when we did the research,
Revelation knowledge.
that the research
That's
backed
right.
up
That's
what
right,
Yahweh
sister.
said was
That's
the truth.
it.
That's right.
All right,
That's
so
right.
so the only English Bibles that have that's Roman Catholic and pulpit Bibles. Galatians 3, and let's read verse 1, please.
Hallelujah.
Galatians chapter 3 and verse 1. O foolish Galatians, who hath bewitched you, that ye should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Yahshua Mashiach had been evidently set forth, crucified among you.
That's a fact. Yahshua was crucified. The evidence shows it, not only in the Bible, but in secular books,
Right,
encyclopedias all over the place. It says, oh foolish Galatians, oh foolish whoever, not just the Galatians, who had bewitched you. It makes me think about that old time show where what's her name does her nose thing. And then she does this, who had bewitched you to stop you from obeying what Yahweh said in his word, that you should not obey what Yahweh said in his word. It says, before whose eyes Yahshua Mashiach had been factually, there's no doubt, set forth crucified among you. Go to 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. So he said, don't be bewitched with man coming and talking about, oh, this new book and that new book. And no, see, that really should be a part of the Bible.
Right,
Do
right.
the research. Yahweh says, study to show yourself approved.
Right.
Now you're at a point where when you're young in the faith, you have to let other people study and show you how to study for yourself.
Right.
But
Bring
you
you up.
shouldn't always be that. You've been in
No.
this thing 20 years. You shouldn't always be unable to study for yourself. And you shouldn't always be unable, not having exercised your senses to discern good and evil, to tell. You might not know exactly what's wrong with it. You can hear Ruach HaKodesh
Right.
ringing in your head.
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with that, but that's not right.
And that's right.
And don't let somebody, just because their mouth is louder and they're right in front of you, tell you what Yahweh just told you. It's like, no, something's wrong with that. Something is not right.
All right. So the world can know.
So Yahweh commanded that we study in order to get to the right scriptural knowledge,
Yep.
then to keep it, and then to add to it.
Yes.
2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, I'm going to read one verse 15.
Hallelujah.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 15. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which ye have been taught, whether by word or our epistles.
Yes.
He's saying now what you learn in the temple, and it's a temple reading Yahweh's word,
Right.
following Yahweh, hearing from Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
Therefore, he's talking to his people again. Stand fast.
Yes.
Not wavering, stand fast.
Nope.
Be sure and hold the traditions which you have been taught. These are Yahweh's traditions. These are not just for on the earth, these are everlasting traditions. These are things that we're going to carry on into eternity,
Yes.
into the kingdom. Hold the traditions which you have been taught, whether by dabar, word, or our epistle.
Right.
Go to Malachi, the 1st chapter. So hold those. You got people learn a little truth, and then they hear something else, and they throw that out the window. Then something else comes along, and they throw that out the window.
Uh-huh.
And then you run into them, and then they're just kind of like a chicken with their head cut off, running around and scratching and trying to figure out what they believe. And
Right.
they believe one thing this year, and then the next year they believe something else.
Huh.
Pray for those people. That's not what Yahweh said. He said, get the truth and then hold to it and add to it. Malachi, the 1st chapter. So the Old and New Testaments were written between 1500 BC and 100 AD. Malachi, which is the book we're going to, was the last word from Yahweh in the Old Testament. And our forefathers, the nation of Israel, was in captivity and they were backsliding.
Right.
All right, Malachi, the 1st chapter. Let's start at verse 6.
Hallelujah.
Malachi chapter 1 and verse 6. A son honoreth his father, and a servant his master. If then I be a father, where is my honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear? Says Yahweh Sabbath unto you, O priest, that despise thy name, that despise my name. And ye say, wherein have we despised thy name?
Now, here, they're so backwards. They ask,
I know, right?
What you mean, Yahweh? What? Like people do today.
I know, right?
Oh, what you mean?
I know, right?
He said, bound a son, kabod honoreth his abba, his father,
Yeah.
and Ebed, a servant, his master. Or Adon. If I then be your father, your abba. This is Yahweh talking.
I know, right?
Where's my honor? Where's my kabod? Where's my worship? Where's my service? And if I be your Adonai master, where's my reverence? Where's my respect?
I know, right?
Where's my R-E-S-P-E-C-T? Where you at when the Shabbat come and you're not at the temple?
Right.
Again, Yahweh's not in error. Whoever's doing that is in error. They're backsliding. He said Yahweh of hosts, Sabaoth, unto you. Oh, who's he talking to? He's talking to the Kohenna, the priest.
I know, right?
If nobody's at the temple, none of the people, the priests, should definitely,
That's it.
definitely always be at the temple. And guess what? We all been made priests and kings.
Yes, we have.
None of us that are not priests anymore. Not in this, after Yahshua came. You had the Levitical priesthood in the Zignal Barit.
Right.
No, this is another Barit.
Yep.
All of us.
Yes. Praise.
He said, he talked to the priest. He said, that despise my name, my Shem. And then you talking about what? What did we do, Yahweh? How have we despised your name? By not doing what he told you to do. Verse 7.
Verse 7.
Now, Yahweh gonna let him know. Okay, you talking about we don't know what we're doing.
I know, right?
Now he's gonna tell him what you're doing. 7.
Verse 7. Ye offer polluted bread upon my altar, and ye say, wherein have we polluted thee? In that ye say, the table of Yahweh is contemptible.
Verse 8.
Verse 8. And if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if ye offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it now unto thy governor. Will he be pleased with thee, or accept thy person, saith Yahweh Sabbath?
These people so evil, Yahweh had to tell them, don't be bringing me no broke back stuff. Don't be bringing me the worst thing you got.
I know, right?
The animal, and he's got one eye, and he's all sickly and diseased. And he's saying, but you're doing it. You talking about, well, how are we despising your name? He said, you're offering polluted bread. You're offering the blind for a sacrifice. You're offering the lame and the sick. And then he said, if it was a man, the governor, you were going to him, you wouldn't bring in that old messed up, broke down stuff. All right, verse 9.
Verse 9. And now, I pray you, beseech Elohim that he will be gracious unto us. This hath been by your means. Will he regard your persons? says Yahweh Sabaoth.
Verse 10.
Verse 10, who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught? Neither do ye kindle fire on my altar for naught. I have no pleasure in you, says Yahweh Sabaoth. Neither will I accept an offering at your hand.
So then he's saying, and then you turn around, you gave me this inferior stuff, then you expect me to treat you right and be glad about it. You expect me to pay attention to you and do something for you. You give me a nickel in the tithe, and you made $50 that week, and then you expect me to step in when something comes it's challenging you in the financial area.
So that
He said, hey, you act like you serving me for nothing. He said, you're kindling a fire on my altar for nothing. In other words, you think that I'm taking advantage of you. See how backwards you are? And then you say, what have we done, Yahweh? Let's go to Malachi, the 2nd chapter. So between the Old and New Testaments, Yahweh stopped dictating scriptures for 400 years. He did it on purpose.
Yep.
And now you think about it, he really stopped dictating scriptures for the last 2,000 years.
Yep.
And now, you see how backwards people have gotten. Not us, but the people apart from Yahweh.
Yeah.
Malachi 2. And they're on TV, a man and a woman standing up. Talking about husband and wife and wife. How backwards is that? So he kept silent for 400 years between Malachi and Matthew. And we're going to look at what happened. Malachi 2, let's start at verse 1.
Hallelujah.
Malachi chapter 2 and verse 1. And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you.
Who's he talking to? He's talking to the people that are supposed to be standing up and telling people and doing what Yahweh said and doing what Yahweh told them to do. He said, now, O you Kohenah, this mitzvah is for you. Verse 2.
Verse 2. If ye will not hear, and if ye will not lay it to heart, to give glory unto my name, says Yahweh Sabaoth, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because ye do not lay it to heart.
Verse 3.
Verse 3. Behold, I will corrupt your seed, and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your solemn feasts, and one shall take you away with it. Verse 4. Verse 4. And ye shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, says Yahweh Sabaoth.
So Yahweh said, now priest, I'm talking to you.
I know, right?
If you want tomorrow here or lay it to pay your mind, to give kabod to my name, said Yahweh Sabaoth, I will even send a curse upon you, and I'm going to curse your blessings. Say, I done cursed them already. Oh, you can tell. People ain't got nothing that you know, the children of Israel are supposed to be standing up, especially when they act like they came back to Yahweh and they know Yahweh and they're supposed to be doing right. And they're just getting messed up every way they turn around. Just nothing is working out right for them. Why? Yahweh done cursed their blessing. And people are so silly. Just because Yahweh blesses you doesn't mean he can't take it back.
I know, right?
Like it's not over. You didn't get away. When Yahweh blesses you, no, he can come right. He's telling you right in, I'm going to curse it, I can take it back. Then he said, I'm going to spread D-O-D-O on your face.
I know, right?
All right? Even the dung of your solemn feast. And they're going to take you away with it. He said, then you're going to know that I sent this mitzvah, this commandment unto you, that my Ibryi might be with Layil, said Yahweh Sabaoth. So I have an article. Let's go to Hosea, the 6th chapter, but I have an article that I'm going to read. It's called The 400 Years Between the Old and New Testaments by Ray C. Stedman. And it's from www.templemount.org. It says, when you open the New Testament in the book of Matthew, Rome is the now dominant power of the earth. Palestine is still a public state. The Jews never did regain their sovereignty. So we're in Malachi looking at them. All right, now they were slipping away from Yahweh and rebellious and everything. So he's saying when you get to Matthew, even though in your Bible you may only turn one more page, he's just saying this is what happened.
Right.
All right? It says, now they never did regain their sovereignty, but now there is a king on the throne. But this king is the descendant of Esau instead of Jacob, and his name is Herod the Great. Furthermore, the high priests who now sit in the seat of religious authority in the nation are no longer from the line of Aaron. They cannot trace their descendancy back. Rather, they are hired priests to whom the office is sold as political patronage.
Okay.
Now, the synagogues that have sprung up in every Jewish city seem to be the center of Jewish life even more than the temple. And then I want to search this out because when it's talking about synagogue as opposed to temple, and then he uses the word Jewish. So it's like the Ruach quickened that to me. I'm going to study that out.
Right.
Because we don't call the places that we assemble synagogue. We call them temples.
Hallelujah.
So he said synagogues sprung up in every Jewish city, and now they're the center of Jewish life even more than the temple. At this time, the people of Israel were split into three major parties. Two of them, the Pharisees and Sadducees, were much more prominent than the third. The smaller group, the Essenes, could hardly be designated as a party. What you're going to find out is the Dead Sea Scrolls the Essenes wrote. All right? They're not Yahweh's people.
Okay.
You got the Pharisees and Sadducees, you got the Essenes. It says, not long ago, however, they came into great prominence in our time and took on a new significance, talking about the Essenes, because they had stowed away some documents in caves overlooking the Dead Sea. Documents which were brought to light again by the discovery of an Arab shepherd boy and are known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. What happened in these 400 so-called, quote-unquote, silent years after the last of the inspired prophets spoke and the first of the New Testaments began to write? After Malachi had ceased his prophesying, God allowed a period of time for the teachings of the Old Testament to penetrate through the world. In about 435 BC, when the prophet Malachi ceased his writing, the center of world power began to shift from the east to the west. Up to this time, Babylon had been the major world power, but this was soon succeeded by the Medo-Persian Empire. At the height of the Persian power, there arose in the country of Macedonia, which we now call Greece. During this time, Grecian influence was becoming strong in Palestine. A party arose among the Jews called the Hellenists, who were very eager to bring Grecian culture and thought into the nation of Israel, and to liberalize some of the Jewish laws. This forced a split into two major parties. Also during this time in Egypt, under the reign of one of the Ptolemies, the Hebrew scriptures were translated for the first time into another language. So all this is going on during that 400 years between the last book in the Old Testament and the New. All right? In about 284 BC, a group of 70 scholars was called together by the Egyptian king to make a translation of the Hebrew scriptures. Book by book, they translated the Old Testament into Greek. When they had finished, it was given the name of the Septuagint, which means 70, because of the number of translators. This became the Greek version of the Hebrew Bible. From it, many of the quotations in the New Testament are derived. That's why New Testament quotations of Old Testament verses are sometimes in different words because they come from the Greek translation. Like when you read some of the names in the New Testament, and that's why we kind of make people say, don't say E-L-I-A-S, Elias. That's Elijah. Say the man's name, but that's why you see that difference. And then Noah, N-O-E. No, his name is Noah. All right? About 203 BC, a king named Antiochus the Great came into power in Syria, to the north of Palestine. He captured Jerusalem from the Egyptians and began the reign of Syrian power over Palestine, but now he was part of the Romans. All right? His first act was to depose the high priest in Jerusalem, thus ending the long line of succession beginning with Aaron and his sons. Epiphanes, it's the same one, Antiochus Epiphanes, overthrew the God-authorized line of priests. Then and under his reign, the city of Jerusalem and all the religious rites of the Jews began to deteriorate as they came fully under the power of the king. He overturned the city. There was a revolt. They thought Antiochus had died when he went to Egypt, but then he came back. They found out he wasn't dead. He regained his power, and he intruded into the Holy of Holies in the temple itself. 40,000 people were slain in 3 days of fighting during this time. That's Israel got killed. He forced his way into the Holy of Holies. He destroyed the scrolls of the law, and he took a pig and offered it upon the sacred altar. Then he made a broth from the flesh, and he sprinkled everything in the temple, thus completely defiling and violating the sanctuary. At the battle between the two opposing forces waged hotter and hotter, Rome was watching. Finally, the governor of Idumea, again here's Esau, a man named Antipater and descendant of Esau, made a pact with two other neighboring kings and attacked Jerusalem to try to overthrow the authority. So now they're talking about the Maccabees in between. They came at this time. So here's Esau joining with some other forces to put the Maccabees down. All right. So that was in 63 BC, and from that time on, Palestine was under the authority and power of Rome. The Jews had gone through times of pressure and had failed in their efforts to reestablish themselves and had given up all hope. But now there was a growing air of expectancy that the only hope that was left was coming of the last promised Messiah.
Hallelujah.
So, see, Israel had to go through all this for them to hope and look for the promise of Yahshua coming in the New Testament. And then the man goes on to say, though we're living in the last days, that might be termed the quote-unquote silence of God, when for almost 2,000 years there's been no inspired voice from God. We must look back, even as they did during those 400 silent years, upon the inspired record and realize that God has already said all that needs to be said through the Old and New Testament.
Hallelujah.
You don't need no more books. He's already said everything that needs to be said.
Hallelujah.
Right? We're in Hosea, the 6th chapter. So the time between the Old and New Testament is called the intertestamental. It's called the silent year, and it's also called the Apocrypha period. Funk and Wagnall's New Encyclopedia, Volume 2, page 389, records that the Apocrypha writings or books overlap the completion of the Old Testament and the composition of the New Testament. So they had already started writing stuff before Malachi finished prophesying.
I am here live, you cannot deny, at the wonderful Yahshua's temple. I haven't been here ever since I was a child, but still, to see this place still standing at the minute, it makes me smile for a little while. I love this style. Because for the supreme Elohim, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yeshua's knowledge, if you take advantage of it, you won't have to go to college. It's that indescribable feeling, that indescribable healing, that brings me nothing but chilling. It's the way I get it.